Alright, what is up? What is up? Good to see you guys. Welcome to this video, the channel, all that good stuff. This is Geek Errant, and I'm getting ready to start a Let's Play series for Guild Wars 2, which is a free-to-play MMO with a buy-to-play model, essentially. So it's much like it's the first game, Guild Wars, that came out back in the early 2000s, which was technically the first MMO of its kind, the first buy-to-play MMO. Essentially, it's got a model where when you buy the game, then you don't have to pay a monthly fee to play the game, and it unlocks all the features and stuff. Like any other free-to-play MMO, it does have a cash shop and microtransactions, but that's kind of the name of the game. It's what they got to do to survive, and everything in the cash shop, to my knowledge, is your typical non-play-to-win cash shop stuff. So mostly cosmetics, resources, boosters, things of that nature. So, but anyways, I wanted to start fresh and do a new character here. The character that's on screen is actually one that my fiance created in order to try the game out. But I wanted to start from character creation and move forward so that you guys could really get a taste of the game straight from right after you log in and launch all the way forward. I've actually played this game up to about level 15 or so on a few different characters and never progressed any farther than that because I liked this game so much. Like, I really think this is my favorite medieval fantasy MMO out there today. I like the gameplay, I like the story, I like all sorts of different elements to it. And I'm really excited about it, which is why I'm doing this series, so that you guys can, I can share it with you, so you guys can see what it's like, and maybe you'll jump in and try it out for yourself. Some differences: I have 5 character slots. I think it's 5. Yeah, I have 5 character slots because I actually went ahead and bought the game, and there's actually a really good deal going on for it right now. You can get both expansions for about $50. A little more than that if you are including tax, but essentially the price of the game unlocks the core game content and both expansions, and makes everything available to you as is in the game right now, which to me is a great deal, especially with no monthly subscription fee continuing after that. So at any rate, but if you do a free-to-play account, you'll have some restrictions, like some typical free-to-play stuff. A few inventory restrictions and differences. Nothing that'll cripple you or keep you from being able to enjoy the game as a whole, though. And if you would, like to compare those things, I'll see if I can drop a link in the description under the video. But they actually have a chart comparison between free-to-play and then the bot content, essentially, showing free-to-play and then what content's available with each of the expansions. So as a free-to-play account, the one thing I can tell you is that you'll only have 2 character slots, but that's enough to give it a good try, and you can play each of the professions up to a certain point and kind of get a feel for what they're going to be like, and then kind of delete the character and start over, and kind of bounce back and forth. But this is one of those free-to-play games that was so good it made me actually want to buy the game to buy to play. So I'm highly recommending it, and that's why I'm doing this video. So, all right, so we're going to create a new character. So starting off, you've got, and this is available whether you're free to play or not. There's no restricted races. You've got the Char, the Human, the Norn, and the Asura, and the Silvari. So to give you kind of a brief rundown of each of them, humans are straightforward, self-explanatory. I'm not going to read everything down here at the bottom because you can take the time to do that. But human is what I'm going to be creating, and I'll go over the other races here briefly. The Char, they're a warlike race, and the closest thing that I can describe to you would be like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. They're animals, big animalistic kind of creatures with horns, really what you see in the portrait here. And there's no profession restriction based on races, so any race can be any profession, right? So anyway, so you got the Char. Next are the Norn, which from the portrait I expected to be something sort of a different kind of creature, but in reality, just a heads up to you guys if you want to make one, they're essentially like, they look like humans, but their theme is like Viking-esque, essentially. So if you wanted to create a Norn, you're going to be like a larger human, essentially. I would say it's like half giant scale, something like that. You know, they stand, average height would be probably 10 feet high or so, which would be like, you know, a little over 3 meters. But you know, your humans are going to stand, you know, like 2 meters, somewhere around there, so around 6 feet or so. Then you've got the Asura, which that was the character that my fiance had created on the first screen. That was a female Asura. So there, you can see that from the portrait. There, if you were to take, it's kind of hard to describe their physical features. If you were to take a I wonder if the next page will show, or if it'll just have two. Okay, it's just male and female. You can kind of get a little bit of an idea from the female. But if you were to take sort of like an elf, a dwarf, a gnome, I guess you could say, and sort of mash them all together, and a halfling or a hobbit, essentially, because that's what they're meant to be. They're meant to be the tiny race. But that's kind of what they appear like, and their story theme is somewhat technologically based, actually. They come from deep in the earth, and they get adventurous and start to branch out and all that kind of stuff. So, and then the Sylvari, they look like an elf, but and they have elven features when you go to create them, but really they're a plant-based being. They aren't born, they are... Basically, they grow out of the earth. They awaken from pods, and their story is actually one of the most interesting in this. I haven't actually played a char yet, so I couldn't tell you like a story summary. But for them, the start of the game is actually inside what they call the dream. It says right here, they awaken beneath a pale tree with knowledge gleaned in their pre-life dream. And the pre-life dream is like a collective memory and knowledge for their race, and then, you know, they learn from that, and then they awaken and they go out into the world with what they gain from that. So there's a really neat race. These two are really, I think, and the Char, even though I haven't played it, I expect sort of the same thing from them. Very interesting backstories, essentially. The Char, an aspect that's interesting about them is they're one of the primary villains from the first game. So I'm probably going to create a Char eventually just to see what they're like. But for now, I'm going to stick with my tried and true. You can call me boring. My friends call me boring and predictable. But I always create humans. It's just, I don't know, it's what I like. It's kind of what I easily relate to. So, but I'm going to do human, male... And then I've been going back and forth on what I'm going to do for this series as far as the profession goes, and it comes down to two things. There's the Guardian and the Ranger are my two favorite classes, and especially with what I've read into what their elite specializations are going to be, that I want to branch into when I get there. And they're elite specializations that are only available from the expansions. Oh man, what are they? The newest one is Path of Fire, and the one Heart of Thorns is the one before that. So each of those has an elite specialization you'll eventually branch into. But I'll kind of run through the professions here with you. The Warrior is a kind of like the opposite to the Guardian. So the Warrior is a DPS, you know, melee fighter. You got the Guardian, who's kind of the tank healer kind of warrior. You've got the Revenant. This one is the one profession that'll be restricted from a free-to-play account, and it's included, I think, with the Heart of Thorns expansion. But they manipulate energy from the mists to invoke the power of legends from the past, unleashing immense attacks that dominate foes and unleash chaos on the battlefield. So they're sort of like they're hard to explain, and I really haven't messed around with this profession at all, but to me they sound like sort of a warrior mage, kind of. So almost like a summoner, I think, is kind of what they sound like. So then you've got the ranger, who most people would think would be, you know, what a typical ranger would be, which is a ranged, you know, bow and arrow, and that's what your default weapon you start off with is bow and arrow. You know, hold back, kind of a thing. But you can actually do a melee ranger, which is what I do, and it's one of the reasons I keep going back and forth between the Guardian and this for my starting class. But they also have pets, and they can also branch out into doing traps and things of that nature. And each of these professions has things that they can branch into. So not every ranger is going to be the same. You know, you're going to have various, you know, rangers of different types. Like I said, you know, I like making melee rangers, and then you've also, you know, you've got ranged rangers, and rangers that use traps or focus on their pets, and, you know, things of that nature. So, but really cool, versatile class, you know, showing versatility like many of the classes do. Then you got your typical thief, you know, that stealth rogue type, kind of characters. The engineer, which is kind of like you would say another version of a ranger. They right here kind of gives a brief rundown. Employ turrets, grenades, elixirs, and a variety of other impressive devices and concoctions to overcome their enemies. And they also use pistols and rifles for their some of their weapons that are unique to the class. Then you got the Necromancer, again, fairly straightforward, self-explanatory. I'm not going to go into that too much, because if you don't know what a Necromancer is, you're not going to be familiar with overall fantasy concepts. And then you got the Elementalist and the Mesmer. So your Elementalist is what you would typically think of as the, like, Sorcerer class. They use elemental magic to do a great amount of damage. Then there's the Mesmer, which is a unique sort of mage class, and it's one of the ones from the original game as well. They're maestros of mirage, it says it right there in the first line. They weave mental magic that confounds, controls, or evokes emotion in their enemies. So they kind of use illusionary and mental magic. They're sort of like a crowd controller kind of class. But again, that's to say that that's what their class is would be doing the game an injustice, because the game is really built in a way that each class can be built differently to be versatile and fit into different roles, as well as be effective as a solo character as well. You know, there's no restrictions. It's more about, or I shouldn't say, it's not as restricting as some other RPGs or MMOs would be. If any of these strike your fancy just from this little brief introduction, by all means give them a try, check them out. But I gotta make a decision. I'm under pressure here. Am I gonna do my Guardian or my Ranger? And really, it's not about which one am I gonna play, because I'll end up making and playing both. It's about which one am I gonna do for this Let's Play. You know, I think just for the unique aspect of just to show off that you can do a melee-based ranger, I'm gonna go with the ranger. So stick with that. Okay, so you can see this shows your starting armor. The other one is one of the variants of endgame armor, which I'm not a big fan of that style. But there are lots of different styles like in any other MMO, and I think there's a style system in this to where it might take cash shop stuff, but you can do some you can change the way your armor looks, so you can make it appear the way you like. I think, like I said, it's cash shop to be able to put a different appearance on an armor, but I don't know. We'll see once we get into it. All right, so right here, if you're wanting to work on your physique, my suggestion would be to do the hide armor function, at least just to get your overall body shape. So, yeah, it's a good height. I usually like doing very sort of vanilla-ish. Okay, let's see. So you can see there's lots of different sort of builds. General body builds. I think I'm going to go with that right there. Sort of the body hair, Hugh Jackman Wolverine. But anyways, yeah, I'll stick with that. Since I'm doing a melee ranger, you want him to look a little beefier, but the melee fighting style is also very mobile. So let's see. We'll do kind of a worn face ranger. Let me see if there's any. Oh no, nope, not getting into any of that. We're just gonna stick with this here. Skin color's good. Hairstyle. Actually, this is the hairstyle I prefer, especially for the ranger. I think this is really my favorite hairstyle in the game. Well, here, I guess since I'm doing it, I'll show you guys. You know, you can see there's not really any sliders here. I mean, there's sliders for your eye angle. There's more customization. We'll get into that in a minute, but this gives you sort of a base face to work off of, both in like sort of texture, contour, shadowing, or shading, I should say, that kind of thing. And you'll be able to change the eye color too. But these are the sort of the base faces that you can work off of. And I'll just kind of go through and give you a quick glimpse. So, and then you get over here, and oops, didn't really change it. You see, there's lots of variety of face shapes, including some that like that there with some scarring, which is kind of cool. I wonder if they have that for. I'm sure they'll have that for the warrior. That'd be kind of a good face for a warrior, looking like he's taking some hits. So a wide variety of different sort of faces that you can do to start off with, and then you can kind of tweak. You're not gonna make someone completely different looking, but you can do a lot of different stuff. And then we've got a lot of different hairstyles. You know, short, long. And a decent selection too, to give you some sort of unique look. You can go straight out bald if you want to. Some long hair, more in your face long hair. This is one hairstyle. I guess it would also be sort of a fitting warrior style, but I kind of like the forward sweep of it. The only thing that drives me nuts about this hairstyle is this patch right here. Like, everywhere else it looks pretty good, like from, you know, the side, the back, you know, and even kind of for the most part from the front. But from the front and this side, like, that little patch missing there just feels wrong. It feels like he's got sort of a bald spot instead of it being intentionally shaved. So not a fan of that one, but I guess it might appeal to some people. And then, you know, good short crew cut, some sort of like wavy curl sort of. Good braided style. That's the style I'll use on my Norn. I like to do a big Norn warrior. Nice fro going on there. Some dreads. Like I said, lots of different styles. Pretty cool mohawk. Little forward sweep up there. Another set of dreads. Balding. If you want that balding look, you know, buzz cut, you know, lots of different styles. I think that looks like a throwback to the original game. Actually, it looks really similar to a style they had in the original game. Sort of a top knot style there, kind of pulled back and clipped up, and then more variety of fros. And sort of that's crazy looking, frizzy mop on the head there. That's some very different, interesting styles as you get further along, but some of them actually pretty cool, different. I'm just kind of, like I said, going through, showing you guys what's available, just so you can get a taste for all the different kind of stuff you can do with your character. You know, even the really out there crazy stuff. So, but good selection overall, you know. I don't know why they have a second. What's the difference between that and the bald on the front? I guess the other one maybe has a little more stubble on it. So, anyways, I go with the hairstyle that I like. The hair color, I'm good with. Facial hair, again, you know, you got a few different options. I'm probably gonna stick with this, but you can maybe that. I don't know. I don't know if I like the gap there. the handlebar stash. I think that'd be a good one for doing an engineer, because the engineer is almost sort of like a steampunk style character. Like the big burly beard, that's kind of cool. I could see that working for a few different classes. That's the one that's kind of on the default for the ranger. Actually, that might be the beard I go with there. Get a little bit of going up on the sides there. Something that's almost, to me, that's kind of coming back to the whole Hugh Jackman Wolverine. So, little mini stash again, another one. I mean, really, I guess that might work for like a Mesmer, or or I should say it sort of makes me think of like a Mesmer or something like that. A little thicker stubble there. Wow. That would be like an extra weapon, like if somebody wants to get in your face, you just poke them with your chin hair. And then bigger, scragglier beards. That almost looks like if you wanted to go for like a wizard's beard, like if you wanted to do some sort of wizard-like elementalist. And then, to me, these are kind of like what you would do for Norn, or if you wanted to make sort of like a dwarvish kind of character, I guess. So, all right. Oh wait, it was, which one was it? Where did it go? I think it was this one. Yeah, I think that's the one I'm gonna go with there. All right, so face details. Now you get into some of the further customization. I'm gonna do some ice blue eyes, because I think that's kind of cool. They have some really interesting like eye colors too. Shades of violet, lavender. Things that kind of different from what you would see in typical eye colors. So, and let's see. We're going to eyebrow placement. We're going to go a tad higher on the eyebrow placement. We're going to do some tweaks here. Eye size, width, and height. We're going to make his eyes a tad larger. Let's see. Let's go back out to body feature. I like to kind of pull back just to look and see what he's going to look like. Okay. All right, and I don't think I'm gonna mess. Let's see, angle. Maybe pull the angle down a little bit. Maybe do the eyebrows a tad higher. There we go. There we go. Sort of a good straightforward look. Not quite so like downward eye, or like mean. No, I didn't bring my angry eyebrows. All right. Let's see, nose. Gonna make it a tad wider at the bridge, just doing a few little things, and a little wider at the nostrils there. A few little things just to make him look a tad different than just the default. Just make him a little more unique. Mouth, make his mouth a tad wider. Give him a little bit more of a supermodel lip out there. And let's see, chin length. Think the rest of it I'm gonna leave alone, but you could do just to give you some, like, you could do longer chin if you wanted to. You could do wider jaw, give him a little more of a stern jaw. Actually, that's maybe not quite that much, but I might do a little bit more on the jaw. Actually, do something kind of like that, a little bit more of a, yeah, I kind of like that actually. Alright, let's see. And then head size. So you can also kind of make his head a little larger on his body if you wanted to, just to make it, change the proportions. Again, it's all about kind of a more, unique look. And I'm not going to mess with the head width because I feel like, it looks natural. You guys might be bored with that, but, hey, it's my character. You want to make something crazy looking, have at it. But anyways, alright, so let's see. We're gonna do, I like ebony, and like, stick with some sort of like darker colors and some grays and such. And this, you can actually, on any piece of armor you pick up, you can change the appearance or the dye colors. And there, of course, there's some that are only available with like cash shop stuff, but you have a lot of decent colors that are available just even as default. So, all right, so that's kind of a rundown of character appearance. Like, not as detailed as other MMOs, but enough to get the job done. Enough that you can make something sort of different and interesting, even though I didn't stray that much from the default. But you know, again, just tiny little tweaks. All right, so this is something that's actually really cool for the ranger in this game is you actually have a few different choices for your starting pet, and really all this stuff, like the fill in the blank stuff, this has a little bit to do. Some pieces have to do with your overall story, and some of them are just sort of little touches to this is what sets my particular ranger apart, essentially. But you have a choice of 3 different starting pets. So you have a drake, which is like a big sort of dragon-like lizard. I wish you could rotate the pet so you could look at it from the side. But my pet whatever fights by my side. So the drake, I tamed my drake when it was a hatchling. Now it follows me everywhere. It has proven itself as a relentless, powerful friend. I'm not sure how much of a difference there is between the 3 of these, but you know, it's all to me. I think it's kind of a personal style choice. There might be, to me, like I would think that the stalker and the bear would be different in that the stalker I feel like would be more of like a speed, damage based sort of companion, and the bear I think would be more tanky. And the bear is actually what I'm going to go with, but I'll read the stalker. My stalker is a dear friend. It is quiet, still, and as quick as an arrow from a bow. Its intelligence shows in its eyes. So, the stalker is cool, and I've actually, I think a while back, I've actually used the stalker, but I actually like, I don't know, the bear fits my personal character, I feel like, a little bit more than the stalker does. And there are more pets than this that you can get in the game. I have a personal goal of eventually unlocking a wolf, but the bear just feels right to me as like someone coming from the forest, essentially. And the bear cracks me up. He's got like a little grin going there. You know, he's like smiling about the fact he's gonna eat you. So my bear and I fight as a single unit. It takes only the slightest gesture to give a command, and then we're tearing through our enemies. So, a little selection there, personal. Another little thing that kind of gives you some difference between rangers. Trouble may follow me, but I use my blank to overcome it. This, I think, has to do with your overall character. Might have an impact on the story, or it might just present some different dialogue options. I've never actually looked into what this does. So if you guys, those of you that are watching this, anybody that knows what this particular choice has a bearing on, go ahead and throw it in the comments down below. Just for any other viewers, for informational purpose, kind of fill in a gap in my knowledge as well. Help me to understand what it really, what impact it has in the overall game, if any. But anyways, sort of a personal approach to how you deal with stuff. So there's ferocity, ferocious, threatening violence gets me further than anything else. I'm a natural, though I do try to use my powers of intimidation for good. So dignity, I'm dignified even when I'm up to my ears in mud. It's what makes people respect me. A serious, thoughtful demeanor is the route to success, and then there's charm. I'm charming. No one can resist me when I'm at my best. I know just what to say to lighten the mood and bolster courage. So dignity is what I tend to lean towards. So, and then I was raised. Now this has a little bit of bearing on your personal story. So you were raised in the streets, grew up poor on the streets, living hand to mouth. Every day was a challenge, but like I tell my old buddy Quinn, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. I've worked hard to change my luck, but I've still got a long way to go. Then there's among the nobility. I grew up among nobles, including my friend Lord Farron, who can trace their ancestry back to ancient kings. I received an excellent education and am well versed in courtly graces and understand the responsibility that comes with privilege. So if you want to do something that story that kind of has a little bit more to do with sort of the nobility, that's where you go. And then the commoners is what I usually do, what I'm going to stick with this time around. I was raised among the common folk of Divinity's Reach. We're the working class, the cogs that keep the city running. I help out a tavern owned by my friends Andrew and his daughter Petra. So again, this has a direct bearing on what your personal overall story is going to be. Kind of like your main quest line, essentially. One of my biggest regrets is that when I was an infant, I was abandoned at an orphanage. A kind couple adopted me and became my family. However, I've always wondered about my birth parents. Never recovered my sister's body. My sister was a Seraph. Centaurs killed her while she was out on patrol. They never recovered her body, and it always bothered me, or passed up an opportunity to perform in the circus. When I was young and I had an opportunity to perform in the circus, but I turned it down. To this day, I am sorry I didn't leap at the chance. So I'm actually going to go with this. Never searched for my true parents. So I think that might have some bearing on your quest goals, but I'm not certain. I don't know that I haven't got far enough, or never noticed anything that really that impacted. But it may take place at some point. And then everyone said I was blessed by, and then sort of these are the 6 gods of this particular realm of fantasy, and I think they're sort of like a non-class based sort of buff or abilities that you get. So it's something that can sort of escape. Something that's not attached to your class is something you can choose personally. And again, this is something where those of you that are more knowledgeable about it, you can throw in the comments for others down below, because I've never really delved that deeply into it. But I always go with the one that sounds, the one that appeals to me personally, and I think it's, let's see, Andrew. I think I'm going to go with Melandru just because it fits the ranger well. And they kind of have, each of these gods sort of fits some of the classes. So it kind of is both a personality and a class-fitting thing, but they're also versatile enough that you don't necessarily have to be linked, like one class is linked the best to a specific god. So, Melandru, the goddess of nature, earth, and growth, can be found in every harvest and every flower. She smiles upon those like me who have an affinity with animals. I am a follower of Melandru. So you could, you could say that this fits a ranger really well, but you could also argue that, Melandru also sounds like something that would work for an elementalist, or even just the Sylvari as a race. And there's lots of other examples here. I'll let you guys kind of read through them and pick what you want, but I'm gonna go with Melandru. So then, as you can see, this kind of pulls all your choices together into your quote-unquote personal story, right? So Melandru, the goddess of nature, blessed me when I was young. Though trouble may follow me, I overcome it with dignity. I was raised by common folk, and I've done plenty of honest hard work. I've made something of myself, and the only thing I regret is that I never searched for my true parents. I am a ranger, and I have a bear that fights at my side and guards my back. This is my story. So, and that this is my story, you'll kind of hear that reiterated in the next, the opening cinematic, which will come here in just a second. So, and I am going to go with my signature ranger name.
The human race once ruled Tyria. Now, we struggle to hold our ground. We've been defeated, driven back, broken, but we will not surrender. So many nations have fallen. Only Kryta still stands. Our faith is strong despite the silence of the 6 gods. With courage, we'll make our stand in Divinity's Reach. The city is my home. I was born to common folk, just one among many. My friends and I don't seek attention or glory. It's hard enough making ends meet. But I believe we can still shape a brighter world out of the ashes of the past. Today I stepped outside of Divinity's reach to see the world. When I arrived in Shaymor, the town was under siege by centaurs. Innocent villagers are in danger. Someone has to help. We can't go on living our lives in fear. I have to fight. I have to make a stand. This is my story.
So I didn't want to talk during that cinematic just because it's one of the things I wanted you guys to see is that, you know, it's got a good opening. Like, you know, it kind of connects you to the race that you've selected. It incorporates a bit of your own personal story, and you know, it kind of leads into what you're going to do starting off. So I'm going to end this episode here in just a minute, but I wanted to show a few things, and then I'll jump into where the quest really, the starting quest, you know, takes off. Your starting quest areas and starting quest line go by race. So, you know, for humans, this is where they start off. They start off in Shaymor, and, you know, the battle that's happening here. So you can see it's got some tutorial stuff here, like you use WASD to move around, A and D. Okay, so you've got like tab targeting version of controls when you start off by default, but you use WASD to move your character around, and then click on the hint to close it. You can hold right click, and you'll do a look camera, and if you hold right click, A and D actually will sidestep. And then the cool thing is, so you've got your tab targeting. I have the click disabled. You can actually, like in the old Guild Wars, you can actually click on the ground to by default you can click on the ground to have your character run there, but I am a fan of action RPGs, and so the cool thing is you can actually bind a control to switch to an action gameplay style, to where your WASD makes your character move. You know, you have a reticle that your camera follows, which also is the reticle you use to target enemies. So actually, I'll show you right over here. You got some guys over here. Left clicking will do your primary attack. So that with your bow, you know, you just aim and click, and then of course you have your number keys that do the rest of your abilities when you get that far. And if you look, my bear automatically ran out and started attacking my targets. So pretty cool. And you can also bind keys that do different things, like I have a key bound so that I can holster my weapon or draw my weapon on command, which really that's not necessary for combat. Your character will automatically draw your bow and attack, and will automatically put your weapon away after a certain amount of time. But it drives me nuts to have my weapon out while I'm running around if I'm not in combat, because it's just a personal preference of mine. So, okay, and you can the key I have bound. I actually have a thumb button mapped to, you know, switch to the action camera mode, but you can click it to drop in and out of it to be able to do this stuff. So. Blah blah. So that's going over the camera controls. If you hold left click while in your default camera mode, you can actually rotate around and, you know, zoom in, kind of look at your character, look at your surroundings, things of that nature, and then again switch to your action camera. And that's where I'm going to stop this particular episode, just with, you know, the character creation, some sort of basic default sort of idea of your basic controls and interface, and then I will start up the next episode as an actual, you know, starting into the gameplay. So, anyways, thanks guys for watching. Thank you for just checking this out in general. I hope you guys have enjoyed what you've seen so far, and it gets you into Guild Wars 2. Because again, this is the whole point of me making this video and this series as a whole is for you guys to kind of join me on this adventure and inspire you to kind of get into your own adventure in this game, because it's a great game. I can't recommend it enough. So if you like what you've seen, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so you can see more of this series and some of the other stuff that I do. And hopefully I'll see you in the next coming episodes. Have a good one.